Alright, welcome back, class. We're going to continue with chapter 3 in Of Mice and Men. Now, as usual, I'm going to start off with a quick summary. Today, we're going to be focusing on characters, and I think you'll find this interesting. I have another video clip that I'm going to add to today's video, and then we're going to just kind of discuss the quotes, discuss the video clip, focus on character. But before that, let's just do a quick summary. Notes on section 3. Oh, remember, if you have this version of the book, the notes are in here as well. Slim realizes that Lenny has the mentality of a child. George tells Slim about the supposed rape in weed involving Lenny. Carson bullies Candy into allowing him to shoot his aging, smelly, and rheumatic dog. George, at Lenny's insistence, describes to him again their dream farm, and Candy, who is listening in, also becomes enchanted by the idea. Curly starts a fight with Lenny, and at George's command, Lenny eventually unleashes his strength and crushes Curly's hand with ease. Slim persuades Curly to avoid further humiliation. It would be in his best interest to pretend that his hand got caught in a machine. So what we'll find is a little bit more conflict is happening between the characters. So that's why today's focus on characters will definitely be between Lenny and Curly. Now, a few things that I want us to understand when we're looking on this comparison, right? When we're looking on this character development that is happening. And the main character development is that we're looking on what we would call strengths, right? Now, are not just strength, but then the power. With Lenny versus Curly, we have two different types of power. Curly's power is authority. And what Curly wants to do is use his authority to overpower other characters, and that becomes problematic. Now, with Lenny, his power is strength. But the difference with Lenny is that Lenny is not going to use his strength just so. Lenny is going to use his strength when he is given the instruction. So when we watch a clip, we'll notice that Lenny waits on the confirmation from George in order to retaliate and attack Curly. Now, what we'll also learn about that in that sequence too is that George shows the power he has over Lenny, which is his responsibility, which is his intelligence. It's all up here for George. Now, going through chapter 3, there's a bunch of quotes I want to kind of go through. Now, here's the first one. This is George explaining to Slim what Lenny is. So what we get is we understand Slim's concern, we understand George's responsibility in this quote, and we also get a little chance to understand Lenny through the eyes of George. He ain't no cuckoo, said George. He's dumb as hell, but he ain't crazy. And I ain't so bright neither, or I would be bucking barley from my 50 and found. If I was bright, if I was even a little bit smart, I'd have my own little place. And I'd be bringing in my own crops instead of doing all the work and not getting what comes up out of the ground. George fell silent. He wanted to talk. Slim neither encouraged nor discouraged him. He just sat back quiet and receptive. Now, this quote I find very, very interesting. Now, what he's doing, he is actually saying that he's not so smart. But what I want you guys to realize is that he's not really saying that he's not intelligent. He's saying if he was smart, he would have left Lenny alone. I think he's looking at the emotional side he's looking at the fact that he has chosen to be good to Lenny or to be a man of his word, but he's saying that the smart thing to do would be to leave Lenny alone. Now, we as a reader know that that is a sign of intelligence, his ability to notice. It is very intelligent that he notices that this was a bad decision. But at the end of the day, this is what makes George a good person. The fact that he is able to intelligently realize that he's making the not so smart decision, but he's doing it because of how much he cares. He's doing it because of how much he wants to be a man of his word, right? Now, that quote also shows that he doesn't believe that he doesn't believe that Lenny is crazy per se. How he really feels is that Lenny just needs guidance, just needs help. It's just that Lenny isn't smart to him. And this actually comes during the time of the Great Depression where people don't really know about mental disorders. People don't really know about ADHD or ADD and things like that. It's either you're crazy or you're not. Either you're a fool or you're not. And for George, he believes in Lenny. He believes that he can help Lenny. And that's why he stays. Moving on to another quotation dealing with characters. Oops, sorry. We're still in chapter 3. Chapter 3 is pretty long. Sorry that took so long. Alright. Curly whirled on Carson. You keep out of this, lest you want to step outside. Carson laughed. You goddamn punk, he said. You tried to throw a scare into Slim, and you couldn't make it stick. Slim threw a scare into you. You're yellow as a frog belly. I don't care if you're the best welter in the country. You come for me and I'll kick your goddamn head off. Right? We get a chance to really look at what is happening. Curly wants to put his authority out there, but none of the guys are falling for it. Right? None of the guys are catching on to it, which shows that Curly doesn't really have a physical fear, or Curly doesn't cause any fear on him physically, right? They know that he's the boss's son, but all of these guys, it's not sticking, and they know who he is. George and Lenny don't really. So this is George and Lenny's chance to kind of see who Curly is. And then what Curly does is Curly shifts his attention to Lenny. And then we hear George now, as a character, showing his authority. George was on his feet yelling, "Get him, Lenny. Don't let him do it." Lenny covered his face with his huge paws and bleated with terror. He cried, "Make him stop, George." Then Curly attacked his stomach and cut off his wing. Now, this is where I'm actually going to break in and say, let me add in the video clip, because this quote is actually tied into the same thing the video clip is tied into. And then we'll see. So I'll put in the video clip right here.
No big son of a bitch is gonna laugh at me. Get up. I'll show you who's yelling. Get up.
You got no call for that. Stop.
Get up.
Come on,
Get up.
Curly. Lenny, get up.
Get up and fight.
Get up, Lenny. He didn't do nothing. Come on. Leave him alone. Cut it out, Curly. Come on, Lenny. Good, Lenny. Fight back. Get him, Lenny. Hit him back. Fight back. Come on. Get him, Lenny. Get him. Slim, help me. Lenny. Let go. Lenny, give me. Let go his hand. Let go. Jesus.
You told me to, George. You told me to.
I know. Take it easy. Calm down.
Gotta get him to a doctor. Carlson, get the wagon hitched up. We'll take him into Soledad and get him fixed up.
He didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want to hurt him.
I know.
It ain't your fault, Lenny. This punk had it coming to him. Come on.
Slim. Is Curly's old man gonna can us now?
Hey, you hear me? Huh? Hey, you hear me? I think you got your hand caught on the machine. Now, if you don't tell nobody what happened, we ain't going to. But you just tell and try to get this guy canned, we're gonna tell everybody what really happened. You got that?
Now that you've seen the video clip, you get a chance to put some facial expressions, put some emotion and something visual onto the words that were read from that quote. And what we see is the different types of strengths, the different types of power, and how these characters are now interacting with each other. There's obviously a lot of anger, there's obviously a lot of emotions. They're going through a rough time. But what we get a chance to see is that the characters are causing conflicts to each other, and that is what moves the plot forward. Because now we start to think, Lenny is a lot stronger than even George had expected. I don't think George expected that much damage to happen to Curly. Curly know not to mess with him now. And this is what actually allows us to see how the plot's going to move forward. How are these guys going to really live with Lenny and George knowing that he's strong like this? How is it going to affect others? This is the boss's son. What is going to happen next? And this is where a character study becomes very important, because now that we've gotten to see these character profiles, we see why things happen, how things happen. The last quote I want to look on. George broke in. Lenny was just scared, he explained. He didn't know what to do. I told you nobody ought never to fight him. No, I guess it was Candy I told. Candy nodded solemnly. That's just what you done, he said. Right this morning when Curly first lit into your friend, he said, he better not fool with Lenny if he knows what's good for him. So this is where we notice that there's a little bit of innocence, right, that is happening. And it was in the clip as well where Lenny's saying, I didn't mean it, you know. And Lenny is showing that he isn't really fully in control of his strength, so he gives that power to George. And the fact that George gave him the go-ahead is why this has happened. And we get to learn that Lenny is kind of soft on the inside, but he's very tough on the outside. And this does say a lot about the characters. When we move on to the next class, we're going to be looking on the themes. So we're going to see how the socialization of this setting and the characters affect the themes going forward. How do these characters affect power and authority? I said a lot about it now, but we're going to look on it again in the next chapter. All right? Stay safe. Big up yourself.